Hey everybody, welcome back. We are on our part 4 of our biome series. We're wrapping it up with our Savannah Biome breakdown, where I'm taking the existing Savannah food chain and we're making a new one by making 2 prey and 2 predator creatures. So just as a reminder, with this one, we have our existing Savannah food chain breakdown, but I have opened it up to every one of them. So we're kind of tapping into the primary and secondary consumers, as well as the higher up on the food chain with the tertiary consumers, and any of them are up for grabs for our final predator creature. So let's go ahead and do our random number generator and see what our first creature is going to be. It's going to be an 18. 1, 2, 3, actually, let me... 15, 16, 17, 18. We got a wild dog. Okay, let's get our next one, which is a 24, which I think is this one, because 1, 2, 3. So yeah, I was right in my quick math. So it's the Ruppell's Vulture. So now we're going to have probably a cool, like, griffin dog situation. All right, let's figure out what the final attribute is. A 19. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Which is a mongoose. Okay, interesting. For our final combo, we have Ruppell's Vulture, a mongoose, and a wild dog. And God, my gut instinct is to do such a cool, like, griffin hippogriff situation. But let's jump in and get some sketches going and see how we can combine these 3 for our final predator creature. All right, let us jump into our final creature for our Savannah biome. I was really excited to finish up this series. I love these little biome mini-series. They're like fun to think about basically how this ecosystem would exist with each other, and then adding this like random like draw to it, perfect. It makes it such a fun challenge. So for the first sketch that I did, I had an idea of making this more of a wyvern creature. I know I talked about in the intro of going for a griffin, which is another version that I'm sketching here, but I thought it would be a very fun and different challenge if I pushed myself to do a different body shape than my initial gut reaction to this. And I kind of liked the idea of this being kind of like, I don't know, a scrappy little dude. The griffin feels much more regal, and yeah, with the vulture head, it might look a little... I don't know, scrappy, I guess, but like, I think having it in this like wyvern type of pose or like wyvern type of body style makes it feel much more like a scavenger. Like, it is a hunter, but can also be a scavenger combo. And I feel having this body structure really aids that in general. I really struggled with the posing though. So that's one thing that I'm trying to think back to my 100 Dragon Challenge, because I feel in the 100 Dragon Challenge, I didn't struggle as much as I did with this one for figuring out a pose for like a wyvern-like creature. And I think the biggest thing with this one was I wanted to show more of the body than some of my initial pose ideas would allow, because I really wanted to like paint a lot of the African dog aspects and show the different anatomy of like the legs connecting with the wings and like how the hind legs were. And I wasn't sure how to do that, and it took a little while for me to finally hit the correct pose. And then I went back and forth on making like a little brood of them, but I ended up going with 2. I felt 3 got a little too busy. It was cute, but it just was a little too busy. And I'm like, hey, that means we have 2 in this that have like a duo. We had our Impala termites, and there was 2 of them. And now this one, we get 2 little cute, I don't know, vulture dogs. And so with the pose figured out and working on the line art, this part was the more intensive part, because feathers always take a while for me because I don't really follow fully the perfect anatomical way of drawing feathers, but I still want them to look good, and I still want them to look like a folded wing or feathers. And so I took some time on that one to try to sell the illusion of these being like wyvern-like wings. And then I got to get into the rest of the body proportions and had a lot of fun with this. So let me break down exactly what I did for each part of the animal and what went into the final anatomical creation. So first of all, the African dog is a little bit obvious to see. I basically used most of its primary body structure for its like whole torso, the beginning of its hind legs, the beginning of its front legs, and then later on, I'm going to be using its coloring and patterning along the entire body. For the vulture, I did the, obviously the face and the neck. Oh, and the African dogs, I used their ears because the ears are way too cute. I had to use them. But then the vulture, head, neck, wings, just generally using those parts from the Vulture. And then the Mongoose was a very interesting one to put in there. Like, I wanted to have it in there in an adequate way. And so what I ended up doing was I made the tail look closer to a mongoose tail. It's kind of combined with the African dog a bit, especially with the colors, but I just made it a longer, swooshier tail similar to the mongoose. And then I was like, well, I'd like them to be able to, I don't know, like tear apart their prey a little bit better. So for example, if they were to pick up one of those warthog dung beetle rabbits, fly up in the sky and drop it, kind of like how eagles do with turtles, they still, I feel, would need a little bit of maybe opposable fingies to maybe help get around the carapace. And I feel these could also maybe scavenger off of the termites as well. So having an ability to have these like claws, I think would be good. And so I thought it would be fitting to have like the mongoose feet at the end of these like wyvern feet. I did struggle a little bit because I really liked how the dog feet looked for the hind legs. But then as I thought more about how these could be practically used in the wild, I'm like, no, it's got to have the vulture feet. We got to have something to swoop, grab, drop. They need it, you know? I mean, I guess I could have made it work with like, well, no, it wouldn't have worked with the dog feet. And then if I did the mongoose feet in the front, like they wouldn't be able to fly at the same time. So yeah, long story short, mongoose is incorporated in the feet and in the tail and kind of just overall for the body shape as well. I feel the body shape of the dog is like the big primary feature, but I did some elongation and changed some proportions that I feel kind of resemble a little bit more of the mongoose. I did think about doing the striping from the mongoose as well, but I just didn't think like distinctive stripes would look as good with the kind of random painted pattern of the dog. And so I ended up omitting that too from the mongoose idea. So with that general idea figured out and me putting in the base colors, I was starting to really like how these were turning out. Like I said, the wings took a very long time because I wanted them to look at least close to the vulture wings with those really beautiful, like whitish gray chunks and like the tips of the feathers having those different colors in them. I just really wanted it to look really cool. And it actually worked really well with the African dog patterning. I think that's what's really nice about working within these biomes is the colors end up working very well together because a lot of the creatures that live in these biomes right now have very similar color palettes to either blend in or like sneak around, like in grasses. Like they all have similar colors, so they're not as easy to spot. I mean, like there's zebra and other ones that are more distinctly like all white or all black, but typically they're all within like these tan, yellows, blacks, whites, grays, and they all can just meld together so nicely. And so I feel the colors of this one came together really well, and I added in a little bit more of the vulture color that is present in their neck. I just love the purples and the blues that are present there. I don't know, it's just so pretty, and it ended up working really well. I was a little afraid of adding those purples and blues and it looking odd with the painted body of the dog and just kind of those tans and blacks and grays. But it ended up looking really nice and I love it. It was just the right amount of like a pop of a different color so then it wasn't just in these earthy tones. We get a little bit of some extra pop of something, you know? And then when I was going in and adding the highlights and shadows, I was kind of picturing this one being like almost like an early morning scene. Like they're getting up and getting ready. I don't know if they would be, I don't know if vultures hunt at night. I'd have to look that up. I know like, I think mongooses are nighttime predators and African dogs, I could see them being semi-nighttime predators. I don't know. I'd have to do a little bit more research. But at least for this, I kind of pictured it being early morning with how I painted the sky. I ended up doing very similar colors to the grass as we have in previous ones. And then I decided to go a little bit more, a little more ham with the background. I wanted to try something else besides either just the color or just the clouds. So I decided to add a little bit of trees and brush in the background. And I think it added some really nice dimension to this piece that I wish I kind of added with the other ones. Maybe I'll go back and add it after all of this is done. All right, there we have it. We have officially finished our Savannah mini biome with this final predator. I think this one turned out really fun. It was like the perfect one to roll to like counter our like warthog dung beetle rabbit, because I could just see these things going and like scooping up their prey and like dropping them, because like that armor is going to be so hard to pierce for these little guys. So it's similar to what hawks do with turtles as well. That's kind of how I see this kind of food chain predator thing working out for this one. I had a lot of fun doing this, and my first gut instinct was to kind of do that griffin idea, but then I was more vibing with like almost like a wyvern type of thing and having the wings attached to the front arms. I could see these things being more gliding predators, or they can have short bursts of flying upwards to grab those rabbits and drop them, but I don't see them doing like long distance flights. They're much more like short, quick bursts of flying and then maybe comboing it with some, I guess, ground hunting as well. They'd probably eat quite a few bugs and the different rabbits that are around, and probably anything left over from our giant like warthog, hyena, bear type of thing. It'd probably be a scavenger of whatever was left over from that one as well. But either way, thank you guys again so much for stopping by and checking out this video. And if you're discovering this series from the end, you can go back and I think it's like 3 episodes back in our Monster Mash breakdown, and you can go check out the other 3 that we made for this little mini Savannah biome. Thank you guys for watching, liking, subscribing, sharing, commenting. All that helps me a lot to make this little business viable. But I also want to give a shout out to my patrons. Thank you guys so much for supporting my business and supporting my art. If you would like to get some goodies in the mail, I have our new mail club image right here. You can get these sent to you at the end of the month. Sign up before the end of the month and you can get a sticker sheet, and a print sent to you. Or if you want to support me in another way, there's a tip what you want tier, so you can just like throw me $1 every month and help me sustain this and keep this going, you know? I really appreciate your guys' support, because I know it's dicey for us artists nowadays with everything going on. So anything you can do to help, like watching, commenting, $1 or $2, it all really helps in the long run to help my business happen. So again, thank you guys so much for stopping by and checking out the Savannah biome. I think I'm going to take a small break before we jump into another biome series, but if you want to see more cool monsters and other things, make sure to subscribe, hit the bell. I have a bunch more coming in the upcoming months, and you don't want to miss them. I'm very excited for a few of them. But either way, thank you guys again so much, and I'll see you all next time. Bye, everybody.